Please give a warm welcome to the hosts of Alternate Ending.
Welcome to Alternate Ending. We're discovering good movies, one bad movie at a time. I'm film school dropout Rob Jarasinski. Across from me is our casual moviegoer, Carrie Jarasinski. And joining us via Zoom, our very own critic in residence, Tim Brayton. With movies not really coming to theaters much anymore, we have to pivot, right? We have to go to the next best thing. Netflix originals, which they apparently have a stockpile of. We're looking at our top 5.
Yeah, is this the next best thing? Are we calling it that?
I don't know. I had to go through a big list. They've been making movies now for, I want to say making, because I think we'll get into this. They're
a distributor. We'll talk about that. That'll be something to talk about later in the show.
But they've been doing it for now, whatever they've been doing, for about 5 years. Original content debuting on Netflix for a little over 5 years now. So they have quite the number of films. I counted like about almost 300, of which I've seen a fair amount, and we'll get to it. But first, I thought we could talk about a little bit about the movies we've seen since the last episode in our Worth Mentioning segment. These are movies
we're going to dive right into Worth Mentioning. We're not even going to do our banter segment.
Do you have stuff going on in your life?
What happened?
What's everybody doing?
What's the best thing that happened to you this weekend, Tim?
The best thing that happened to me this weekend. I bought a thing of like summer sausage snack sticks from the grocery store here in Wisconsin, the capital state of summer sausage, and I've been eating them.
Oh, did you get the ones where there's the cheese sausage combo?
No, these were like the store brand of summer sausage. So it's not that little. I do enjoy the funky little gas station cheese and sausage stick combo when I'm like in need of protein on the road. But no, this was not that.
Interesting. So do you think the store stuffs the sausages themselves?
I doubt it.
No.
I doubt it very much.
Okay. But they just use their own packaging.
I'm so happy I decided
I can ask them. I can ask them the next time.
This is totally worth it.
I would like it if you'd tell them, compliment their sausage, go up to them and tell them how much you love their sausage.
If I had a penny for every time I said, I love your sausage,
I'd like you to ask if they bag their sausage. That's what I'd like you to do, and then report back next episode.
Excellent.
Thank you.
What's going on in your guys' lives?
We were supposed to record this episode 2 days ago, but
you were a little moody.
I was moody for the right reasons. Tim can tell me if you would have been stressed out.
Yeah, you tell. Do an unbiased explanation of what happened.
I can deliver an unbiased explanation, unlike you, where you add in your.
Sounds like you're still a little bit moody, Rob.
He's a little salty.
So we had family photos.
Okay.
In addition to family photos on the day that we were set to record, we also had to take the kids to get our flu shot. So we are all now inoculated against the flu. So 50% of the way there of the things that we need to be inoculated against. So we had a flu shot, family photos, which, can be trying.
You're always
can be a trying
happy
situation.
when they're done. You're always happy.
Yes.
Okay.
Introduce the additional complexity of having a dog joining us for family photos. And a dog that had recently, we spent a good amount of money on some grooming just to make sure she looked her best, smelled her best. And we went for family photos.
You gotta do that shit at home. You just hose the dog off, spray some of that like rose water on the dog, and boom, you're done.
I don't disagree with you.
Don't just spend money on those fancy ass.
Well, she needed.
For your dog.
She got blown out. As it is, like with a blow dryer and whatnot. So she was looking extra poofy. We have one of those at home too. We do, but Carrie wouldn't know how to style a dog's hair. Come on. But we got all dressed up. Like the process, I'm still okay at this point. We head down to the place. It's a nice not a state park, but conservancy, right on like a small little pond or lake. And we start taking the photos. Everything's well, and the photographer asks us to move to the beach, the sandy beach. And I tell Carrie, hey, let's have Lucy hold back, because she's just been, completely manicured and had her spa day. And we tie her to the bench, and then somehow she gets off that. Carrie allows for that to occur. And then
I took her off. I took her off the bench.
Took her off the bench, starts playing in the sand. While we're taking photos, I'm still okay. I'm a little upset at this point.
No. Let's back up. You're already testy going in because Rob doesn't want to get his feet dirty. That's what's happening. Rob's like, I was like, just leave your shoes on. Like, just don't. You don't.
They're brand new shoes.
Yeah. So Rob's already upset that the sand is even a factor in these photos. So you are already starting to get that like thinner eye.
That's true. It did start with
started with the sand.
Going to the sand in general was a frustrating experience.
Tim, you're still on my side. I can tell.
And then
you understand, and I just want to make sure you understand. The photographer is not your boss, and you can tell the photographer actually would prefer not to do that.
Yes, I agree. But I view it as Carrie's role as the main intermediary between ourselves and the photographer to read my facial signals and know me, and then communicate that so that I don't have to be the bad person to the photographer. So we sit down. I
see. So you're saying that Carrie is your hatchet man.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. But I also don't mind getting a little sand on my toes either. Like that's nice for me. So
then we managed to execute some photos. Hopefully, I'm curious if we'll get any good ones off the sandy beach one.
I say this every year.
Then photographer says, "Hey, let's get a few of just the dog by herself." Okay, on the beach, fine. No worries. Again, not thrilled with this idea. There's a lake nearby. Take her off the leash. We try to get her to sit down. Lucy is only interested in going into the swamp lake. And
of course, Lucy is a dog. Of course,
yes,
dogs are going to do as dogs do.
So then she's completely covered in mud. We've gone past our time frame in order to get back, have dinner, and it's pizza movie night.
Rob gets really testy about pizza movie night if we miss that. Yeah.
And we have recording going. Neither of us had started our preparation for the recording. So I was very upset by the end of that situation.
Things were heightened.
I asked Carrie to walk home, basically. That's what I did. No. With the dog, because I didn't want the dog in the car.
When he says covered in mud, some paws were a bit dirty. And here's how I look at this. Like, you can't control these situations in these moments. Like, that's what's the good memory about it, is the fun of our overly poofy dog jumping in the mud. Like, that's going to be the good memory about it. You can't control these things, and you can't. Not every day can be perfect, Rob. Mm-hmm. You got to let those things go.
So Carrie ended up riding home in the trunk with the dog.
I did.
Okay.
And then she was perfectly clean when we got home. So Tim, in this situation, who is wrong?
I regret to say my arbitration in this matter is going to be very unsatisfying to both of you, I think. I think this sounds like a horrible moment. I want to slash my wrists open just hearing you describe this. It sounds so awful. So in this sense, I side with Rob. It sounds
stressful.
It sounds like I would hate being there for every minute. But it also sounds to me like the situation arises out of Rob's belief that Carrie is a mind reader and will correctly translate the things you want translated to the photographer because you are too much of a big old pussy to do it yourself, Rob.
All true.
This is what I hear.
It's a good assessment.
You know what, though? I'm going to take a moment right now that I don't do often, and I'm going to say, based on your arbitration, then Rob is in the right, because I absolutely knew he did not want to go in the sand just from the twin. He does this with his eyes. His eyes do this. They get kind of like twitchy. And then the minute the dog was going to go off the leash, I knew that was going to be upsetting, and I still chose to do it.
So Carrie, would you describe your role in the situation as a willful agent of chaos?
Yeah, I think so.
Carrie's just optimistic.
I think it's.
Yeah. Then I'm going to side with Rob. I'm going to take a rare victory to Rob on this one.
You'd be amazingly well at family therapy. You're very good listener.
You feel better right now,
don't you? I do feel better.
Yeah, that's just because you.
Although I don't think therapists typically kind of take sides.
Do you feel like your life would have any joy without me in it? I like
taking sides. No. Taking sides is I bet it would.
So that is why it'll be seamless to the listeners, because we're still getting this out on time. We've been trying to move things up a little bit to give ourselves a little bit more time. That did not happen this past week, which is fine. It's totally fine. It's fine.
Now I feel like you're begging the question, though, because the listeners listening to this already know whether it was seamless or not. So what if it wasn't seamless and you just said it's seamless, and now they all feel it's very meta.
It is very meta.
I feel like you're taunting the gods when you say that.
Try to transition from that, Rob.
Sure. Well, we told some stories. There was a movie that Carrie and I caught and sat down with the director that had some scary stories being told as part of that, Care. So that's what I caught. That's what I'm bringing to the table, is Scare Me, of the movies that I've seen. What have you seen, Care?
I've seen, so I saw Scare Me. I saw Enola Holmes with the little gal from Stranger Things, who I just really, really like. And then
she's a good actress.
She's a good actress.
I should have had her name handy.
Very solid.
Millie Bobby Brown.
Bobby Brown, yeah. Millie Bobby Brown.
Yes. And I say that without having even seen Stranger Things.
But that's just because you're you. And then I also saw Mulan. And maybe we saw a couple other little things, but that's... And then I saw the one I'm going to talk about today, which is Dick Johnson is Dead. Yes.
That's a couple movies I'm really... I'm not going to ask you to talk about Enola Holmes, Carrie, maybe off the air, because I'm curious about watching it myself. And can you just give me a quick thumbs up, thumbs down on Enola Holmes?
I would say it's like, this is what my kids do with my cooking. It was like this for me. So this is a thumbs up. This is a thumbs down. This is like medium, but I think it was here. Would you agree?
So the thumb is more up than to the side.
Yes.
So the thumb is at like 2 o'clock.
There's nothing to not like about it, I don't think.
It's got like a little thing it does where she breaks the third wall. Like that's its big fun thing. And she's obviously martial arts expert as well. So that's kind of fun. There's some fun. I actually, going into it, thought it was a TV series. And I think it actually would have been better as a series, and having it be more episodic. Maybe that's what they hope to do. It's a weird thing as a standalone film, but certainly some topics that are present in today's world that it tries to kind of weave in there. So it was interesting trying to explain those Me Too type topics to our girls as it was happening, and right to vote, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. So yeah. So Tim, what did you see?
These do not sound like topics that I am terribly interested in seeing explored in a Sherlock Holmes spinoff, but I will still go in with an open mind. So I didn't see really much that's new. I've been sort of bogged down in dissertation writing. I also saw Scare Me, and I'll be happy to chip in when you chat about that. But I do want to talk about a movie that I finally caught up with. It's been out for a little while, but it's the only other thing I have to bring to the table, really, is The Personal History of David Copperfield, the new adaptation by Armando Iannucci.
I want to hear about that, too.
Is that it stars...
He's a magician, Rob.
I don't believe that's the right David Copperfield.
Not, in fact, about the magician.
Yeah, I believe
it's different David Copperfield.
Oh, great.
This is the adaptation of the Dickens novel.
Oh, the really long one? Mm. Oh, that was a real snoozer.
It is Dickens' longest novel.
Yeah. Okay. Different David
Copperfield. Possibly his most boring. Yes.
All right. Well, I'm interested because it's... Oh, who does that... Oh, you'll get into it, who it stars.
So who's starting?
Carrie starts.
All right. I'm going to start in. All right. I'm going to go with Dick Johnson is Dead.
Well, spoiler.
Wait. Oh, that's just the title. Oh, geez. So
I've heard a lot about this movie. This is we were going to record on Friday, and I'm almost happy that we did not, because I really, as we were looking at our top 5 Netflix originals, this is one that I had only heard like bits and pieces about, but I knew it was one that I wanted Carrie and I to see as a potential contender.
So Rob before was like, we've got to get this in. It was like an hour out. He's like, let's just start watching it. Let's start seeing, because I think it might make your list. And I was like, well, let's start in. What did you say? Rob said right out of the gate, he's like, first 10 minutes, I think you're going to hate it. And then if you can make it past those 10 minutes, I think you might be in, based on what I know. And so I was like, okay, I'll give it a spin. So it's the newest documentary by Kirsten Johnson. She also did Camera Person, right? Camera
Person made my top 100 of the decade. I think it's a phenomenal film.
So I hadn't heard of her before, but so the premise of this movie is that this woman's father, so like I said, it's a documentary, this woman's father is going to die, as we supposedly all will, and he's...
we for sure will. There's no supposed about it. You one day, Carrie, will be dead, and your body will rot in the ground. Unless it's burned.
It's still
and
an
then
unknown.
The ashes will just sort of get lost.
I'm trying to do lots of kind things to hopefully hit on whatever afterlife there is. But anyway, in the meantime, it's this story where she's sort of trying to preserve... You find out early on that her mom suffered from dementia.
Alzheimer's.
Maybe
I don't know if that's in the
Alzheimer's.
Same.
And her concern is that her dad is kind of going down that same path. And when she looks back at the end of the life, or really the life of her mom, who she loves so dearly, she has like no video coverage, or like no video, like no live video of her mom even being a camera person, and that saddens her. And so I think this look and this experiment sort of that she does with her dad, where she sets up all of these like death scenes that he is going to like die in, is supposed to be sort of a catharsis for both of them, like where he feels like he's being seen and she also feels like she's really capturing his life while he's still here. And so first 10 minutes in, I'm like sobbing like a weirdo. And I was like, why would you do this to me? And I was upset with Rob. I'm like, well, this is the worst for me.
And the dad is a sweetheart. Gosh. He is a sweetheart.
He is literally my dad, only if my dad is Red from that 70s show. But it's like they kind of look alike. So this is like my dad's like this grumpy kind of whatever, but he's also so tender and sweet, like underneath all of it. So
but this guy's just the tender.
I know.
Yeah.
But he kind of looks like my dad.
Okay.
So that was upsetting.
Yeah, he's got the rosy cheeks.
The
like
rosy
your dad.
cheeks, the gray hair, a little bit of a tum. And so I just think it was really hard for me to watch. And I think it goes off after, like Rob said, after the first 10 minutes, it goes off into this sort of fantastical thing where it jumps around to like really heightening him and making sure that all of the things that were his worries and strifes in life are sort of like gone in the afterlife. I feel like I'm doing a weird way of describing this, but it's a little bit of a strange movie. Like, so I think it's really tender. It's really beautiful. It's also very tragic. It's also very lovely. And I'm still processing. So
okay.
I think, Tim, you would really enjoy it.
I was going to say, is your processing good or is your processing sad?
I mean, I'm feeling like I'm going to cry right now. So probably sad.
Okay. So sounds like a movie I'm going to love.
I think you will, because you don't care about
it's a movie that makes you feel unhappy. If you are made to feel sad, it probably means I'm going to feel really
I think
really
you'll like it. So
okay. I'm excited to see it. I'd actually hope to see it by this point as well. It's just been a shit week. So.
Yeah. The death scenes are pretty amusing. Like, it's they've straight up hired stunt people to help out, so it's him walking down the street and a computer falls on his head. Those types
air conditioning.
Air conditioning, excuse me, yeah.
Or he falls down the stairs in this really graphic and gory way, and then he like pops up. So they're having fun together while they're doing it. So that part of it is so sweet. But
it's her way of working through her own concerns and fears of this, but also watching him unfold and deteriorate. It's hard.
It's really hard.
Good. It's a good watch.
So that's what I saw. Go devastate yourself. What did you see, Rob? Or Tim, where are you going to go next? Tim, you go through David Copperfield.
So I'm bringing to the table Armando Iannucci's adaptation of the, as we said, the longest of all Charles Dickens' novels, David Copperfield, or to give it its very long title, to go with a very long book, The Personal History, Adventures, Experience, and Observations of David Copperfield the Younger of Blunderstone Rookery, which he never meant to publish on any account. And I do appreciate that the film's title has been sort of given a slightly puffier and longer version of itself, just to acknowledge the fact that Dickens gave the book such a crazy ass long title. So David Copperfield in any incarnation is the story of a young man who, pretty transparently based on Charles Dickens himself, is born, suffers through a crappy childhood with like his mother being sort of very put upon by her second husband, who's this just massive asshole who sends David to work at a very young age in a very horrible environment, and how David spends, the first 30 some years of his life finding himself and establishing himself and like putting himself in a position where he can grow up to become like a happy adult in a good relationship with good friends, a family, and all of these things. So it's kind of the like quintessential 19th century Bildungsroman about, just the life of a young man from birth to adulthood. And I will start by saying David Copperfield, the book, is not a favorite of mine. I love Dickens. I think this particular book is way too long. I think the character of David Copperfield is really, really dull. Mm-hmm. I think that's its biggest problem. And it also has my all-time least favorite character that Dickens ever wrote, which is the first of two romantic interests. Her name is Dora Spenlow. So I have no real... I don't want to say I have no horse in the race here. Like, I'm willing to let a filmmaker sort of tear this book apart a little bit in a way that I might get a little pissy if they did that to say Great Expectations. So if Iannucci wants to... It is.
Yeah.
It is. In the running for my all-time favorite novel, period, actually. So Iannucci wants to sort of rip apart David Copperfield, see what makes it work, and put it back together. I'm good with that. So I'm interested in the concept here and sort of what's going on. It's a straight adaptation of the book. It does not modernize it, except in that it is colorblind casting. So David Copperfield himself is played by Dev Patel. The cast as a whole has been sort of assembled solely with an eye to, does this person feel like they will fit this character? So we have all of these sort of multiracial families, but they're all also 19th century English people, which I think is really interesting and it really works. And it sort of, without saying that it's doing it, freshens it up and brings it into the 21st century. I think that part of it is really, really cool. It's kind of the only part of the film that I actually ended up liking, honestly, in part because we do get all of these phenomenal performances, not just from people like Dev Patel, who's of course really great, but Benedict Wong gets a decent medium-sized-ish role that was really, really fun. Rosalind Eleazar, I don't know how to pronounce her name, who I've never, ever heard of. I think she's a stage actress, is just terrific as my favorite character from the book, which is the other romantic lead named Agnes. And then there's also like the usual like stage trained white British actors like Peter Capaldi, who's been with Iannucci for some time. He played the character in The Thick of It. He plays a character here, Tilda Swinton, who we all love and know is in this film, Hugh Laurie. So great jam-packed cast, really interesting, like sort of almost quasi-experimental cast. So that part of it's great. The issue I have here is that in order to cram as much of this extraordinarily long movie as possible into, or this extraordinarily long novel into the movie as possible, Iannucci and his co-writer, and I just want to quickly verify the co-writer's name, is Simon Blackwell, have basically given us everything that's in the novel, but done really, really fast. So it's this 2-hour movie where it feels like the whole time you're watching it, you're seeing the characters like running, like at top speed through scenes. So it's very, very cluttered. It's very, very fast moving in a way that I found sort of exhausting and tedious. There's this kind of theatrical meta staging thing where like it starts with David Copperfield reading his book on stage, and then every now and then throughout the movie you'll see like projections like he's still on stage. It's really weird and confusing and arbitrary. But the big issue I think is just that it's just too damn full and it's moving too damn fast, and nothing sinks in. None of the characters really have a chance to develop and grow. And again, with all these great performances, you really want just moments with these characters, I think, to let them like sort of bloom, and that just doesn't happen. And I found the whole thing just very draining. Honestly, I did not care for it.
So a pass for Iannucci, not one of your favorite Iannucci's.
No, it's certainly my least favorite thing he's been involved with, actually, which he worked on Veep, the TV show with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the British TV show The Thick of It, that film's spin-off In the Loop, the recent satire The Death of Stalin, all of which are things I really, really love, and this is just not that. And I think part of it is that this is a nice thing, like it's a warm and cozy, like good people having good things happen to them, and his skill set is not that. Like all of his other stuff is about horrible people making asses of themselves, and I think it's just too much of a shift for
his Avenue 5, which also you mentioned Hugh Laurie, stars Hugh Laurie. It's the HBO series.
That I haven't caught that.
It's basically Veep in space. Is kind of what I think it's trying to be, more or less. It's been panned quite a bit as well too. I think some people I've caught a few episodes. I didn't quite get into it. But yeah, I don't know what's happening with the old Uchi.
I mean, I'd say David Copperfield is probably an easier commitment than that, just because it's a 2-hour movie and not a series. So if you're curious, don't skip it on my account. But I was disappointed. I really had hopes for this.
Well, one thing you brought up that's interesting to me, curious on both your takes, the colorblind casting piece in a period piece where obviously it wouldn't be accurate to the time period. Glad to hear that didn't bother you or take you out of the film. Do you see that? I see Hollywood moving towards that, but it's great to hear that you at least weren't pulled out of the movie by kind of those.
And I mean, part of it is that I don't go into a movie like this demanding that it be scrupulously accurate. Like, I want a good movie, and if the good movie can be accurate, great. If it's not, then that's fine too. Part of it, I think, is that it really does give it. God bless, prestige literary adaptations, but they tend to be very stiff and starchy, and I think this is a way of not doing that.
How about you, Kara? I think the term is anachronistic. Is that what I'm looking for? Anachronism? Something not relevant?
I would not call it anachronistic per se, because I don't think we're meant to see David Copperfield as being Indian. I think we're just meant to have Dev Patel as playing David Copperfield.
Sure.
Like David Copperfield is still a boy from the English countryside. So it's not quite anachronistic like that, no.
My assessment is that based on this description of the movie, that I would much prefer it be about the magician. So
that's where you've landed.
That's where I've landed.
Would you still be okay with Dev Patel playing the magician?
Yes, I absolutely would. That would not bother me at all, because I don't even actually know what the original David Copperfield looked like. It could look like Dev Patel. I don't know. I would not care.
I mean, he presumably looked like Charles Dickens.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know. It wouldn't bother me, I don't think. I don't know.
Yeah, but nice for Iannucci to kind of be leading the charge. I haven't seen too many films, I guess, like that. That's why I was curious on whether or not that kind of took you out of it. Like, well, wait a second, they wouldn't.
And and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. Like Disney's live-action Lady of the Tramp, I think, was colorblind casting, and I think that specifically didn't work because it was specifically like calling to mind sort of racial tensions in the United States in the first half of the century, and like. I think it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Yep. This time it worked.
Yeah, I guess it's by film by film. You have to kind of judge it whether it works or not.
What did you see?
We both saw Scare Me, which we had the opportunity to see back in January at Sundance. Scare Me premiered at Sundance. It's the directorial debut of Josh Rubin, also starring Josh Rubin, Aya Cash, Chris Redd, and Rebecca Drysdale, and written by Josh Rubin. He's kind of a one-man show, and you could tell. When we sat down and actually talked with him, we have an interview up on the site, so feel free to check that out. Very enjoyable guy to talk with. He's an actor. Like, you could tell he's got the improv chops. Comes from like the East Coast kind of style of improv, and sat down to write a movie that could be self-contained and more easily developed. And this is like, I would say, like, if you're interested in making a movie, obviously budget is a consideration. This is a great concept that I wish I would have come up with to manage budget constraints. Is our dog snoring right now?
Oh, she is.
He's just snoring.
Put the microphone down there.
I don't think I need to.
Oh my God, I heard it.
I don't think I need to.
I couldn't tell if it was a fart.
Yeah.
I was like, is that Rob? What is that?
Yeah, do you get her, do you have to like roll her over? Oh, there she is. Now she's like embarrassed.
Oh, she's embarrassed. I've embarrassed her. She's like really loud snoring.
So Josh sat down to write a movie that he knew that could be made and made on his own terms, and the plot is.
You didn't say that he cashed out his 401k.
Oh, he cashed. You'll find out. 401k. I didn't want to spoil too much of the fun interview.
I didn't want to ask how much.
The interview's been up for several days at this point.
It's not a spoiler. Yeah,
cashed out his 401k in order to have this thing made.
It's $3,000.
Yeah, no, but it stars him. His character's named Fred. Fred is a wannabe horror writer. Goes up to the mountains to a cabin in the woods to do like a little bit of to really sit down and get into the, finally have the peace that he needs and isolation to write. He bumps into just oddly Aya Cash, who's become famous.
She's out for a jog.
He bumps into her. Finds out that she's Fanny. Her name's Fanny. Not that she has a Fanny. Her name is Fanny, and she's a famed horror writer. Also doing something similar, having a little writer's workshop. They bump into each other, kind of split from there. Then the power goes out in the area, and Fanny finds her way back over to Fred's cabin, and they kind of huddle together. And to pass the time while the power's out and it's stormy weather, they decide to have a scare-off of sorts where they tell each other scary stories. And Fred is like he's kind of, you feel that he's a little bit threatened by her in some way. And
you don't feel that a little bit. You very much. He feels very inadequate that she is
she's an established writer, best-selling writer.
So he has stakes in this game where when they go to tell their scary story, the scare off, like you said, he wants to be scarier. He wants to win this thing. So go from there.
But he also he seems reluctant to to try. She's really trying to prod him to get him to do it. Anyway, they battle. Things go from there. Small other characters are introduced as well too, which the opening character steals the show for me.
100%.
Yeah, Rebecca 100%. Drysdale as the Uber driver in the beginning was just
fantastic.
I like shades of great Melissa McCarthy. in there.
I wish that we'd followed her back in her Uber and just seen all the various wannabe writers that she transports back
happenings
and forth. She, to me, was by far the highlight of this movie.
I gotta say, some of the things that stood out to me about the film were the sound design. I really enjoyed. It's almost like radio theater. I was telling Josh that you could probably just not look at the movie and just listen to it and be brought into the film that way visually. So those were the things that stood out to me. I just really enjoyed their manifestations of these stories that they created.
But I think the other component of it is, like he even said in the interview, like there's definitely a message that he's talking about with sort of like feminism and female empowerment and like how men react to strong women, like people who are better at something. And so what that can sort of manifest as, like from an emotional perspective. And so on the other flip side of the coin, like she's kind of narcissistic. She knows that she's the better writer. She knows she's the better storyteller. She knows that she has the upper hand. And so it's how she uses those tools too in the movie that I think are interesting. So it's where it goes from there. I definitely enjoyed it. I was a little creeped out from here and there as it blurred some of the lines of their relationship.
What do you think, Tim? I know you saw it as well, too. I know you said you weren't high on it.
Yeah, I actually disliked it quite a lot. Two big reasons. One, and you didn't really touch on this, it's a comedy. It's not a horror film, which Correct. I'm fine with. Like, not everything has to be a horror film. I think it's a criminally unfunny comedy. Like, I find, and I don't want to, I found Josh Rubin just a remarkably uncharismatic screen presence. I thought he was really, really just noisy and loud in ways I did not enjoy watching. And I feel bad saying that because I know you guys had a really fun interview with him, so I don't want to linger on that.
That's okay.
But I do think that the humor just didn't land for me. It felt like the kind of improv kids that I would run screaming out of the room if they were like trying to do that in front of me, basically. And I think the other big problem, as you both pointed out, like sort of the plot hinges on this idea that Josh's character feels very threatened. Fred feels very threatened by Fanny because she's clearly the better writer and she's had more success and so on and so forth. I think that requires that it be clear to us watching that she's the better storyteller. And I didn't get that. I thought actually both of their stories were really very bad. and hers were not in any way more interesting than his. So to me, the whole message falls apart because it's like we hear the plot synopsis of her novel. Her novel sounds dreadful to me. So like, I just was sort of completely locked out of this movie.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Well,
yeah.
You know what's interesting too is I had this discussion with Carrie. I had my biggest problem going into it before I had the discussion with Carrie and Josh was that I didn't know who I was rooting for because I actually found both of them. Like her in particular, I found like not very pleasant to be around. But Carrie,
they're not likable.
Yeah,
they're
not likable.
I don't think they're meant to be though.
Well, but that was the thing is Carrie flipped it on me and said like maybe that's just my toxic manhood like clouding the fact because I think if you look at it, she was maybe trying to get the best out of him.
I will be very frank and say that if toxic masculinity is why I don't like that character, I am perfectly fine embracing toxic masculinity. She's a wretched human being.
Rob's not giving it all the context. What I said is Rob felt like because the way that she sort of commanded the room and the way that like men that are
If you flip the genders,
how would you feel about it differently? And I know, Tim, you'll say you wouldn't feel differently, but I think Rob might. And so I think it's this, women can come off when guys are kind of pushy and demanding, they're strong. And a lot of times when women play that same character where, they're really confident, pushy, loud, whatever, it comes off as irritating, annoying, bossy, like it's a different connotation. So that's the conversation that we had to say, if he had been the more aggressive one who was like pushing her to be better by, pushing her on her story, asking better questions to try and get her to be scarier, we might have seen that differently. Or I asked the question to Rob, would you have seen that differently? Would you have seen that more as like, oh, he's trying to empower her and support her? And would you have found it less annoying? And Rob said, yes. So I think,
because I mean, to me, it comes back to I don't think she's asking questions that are making him a better writer. I think she's asking stupid questions that are a waste of my time as a viewer. I really didn't like this movie.
Well, and this is your
I really didn't like this movie.
I think so. Take the same thing. Maybe if the questions had been different, maybe if the stories they had been telling different.
I mean,
the concept of the movie.
If you're presenting me with the what if this was a good movie that had good characters, I would have probably liked it better.
I
will also agree with Tim. Not really not scary at all.
And not trying to be that. That's not a flaw because it's not trying to be.
Which is interesting that it you can find it streaming on Shudder. The comedy is to everyone's taste. Certainly heavy on the improv style. If you like that bombastic improv style, you might get something out of it. But you'll find it streaming on Shudder. Check out our interview on the site, and remember you can find more details about all the movies we've watched at our website alternateending.com. That's alternateending.com. Actually, really quick, Dick Johnson is Dead. That was streaming on Netflix. Tim, where did you find David Copperfield?
Found it.
Gotcha.
Just found it.
Gotcha. Also available places.
On Tim's desktop.
It's available places.
I
deleted it.
Before we head to our break, you might be wondering about ways to support the show. Get early access and exclusive content. Make us watch a movie. Pick your own episode topic and more from our Patreon site. People have been jumping at the new extra rewards that we've added out there. The Tim worth mentioning, or the Palme d'Or, or Dior as Carrie likes to call it. We had Tristan.
Two have picked that up.
Tristan Frayling picked it up. Laurel Hose moved from her Razzie Award level to the Palme, and then we also had a Dan Stolkup pick up a Razzie Award. But he also had a note he dropped in. Care. Is that right?
No, he was sharing that he is a big fan of the show, and it also said that he also is starting up a podcast that you can check out. It's the goodsfilmpodcast.com. It is also looking at film, so you can compare and contrast to see if it's better than ours.
So Dan and team have the goods. It's the goods podcast.
Goodsfilmpodcast.com. So good luck with that. And what's the statistic? So let's give
7
Dan
episodes.
You got to make it, Dan, through 7 episodes. If you make it through that, you too could be doing it for many years like us. So 7. Don't quit before 7. So.
I also want to take a moment to plug the survey that we've been doing in order to get sponsorship. I have not posted that survey in the notes like I say. I will absolutely do that. We need everybody's help. If everybody listening could take 1 minute to fill out the survey in the show notes.
The survey that has not yet been posted.
Correct. It will be posted by the time this airs.
I don't understand why people aren't responding.
And then it's sort of like when you said that it's going to be seamless, and then what if it's not seamless? And then what if you say it's going to be posted and it's not posted?
That's true.
Hopefully it's posted. If it's posted, take the survey.
Yeah.
And Rob, don't forget about Patreon this month. Super, super excited. We threw it out to the Patreon supporters for what scary movie, using that voice, we should watch together for a movie club. So we'll get together and everybody's going to watch the movie in advance. And do you want to know what the movie that won is?
I do.
It's called A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge.
All right.
That was my vote. My vote right there.
Clearly the best of the Friday the 13th Nightmare on Elm Street.
Don't tell me. Well. I want to go in blind. I haven't seen any of them, so I'm going to try and watch the first one.
The whole franchise.
Yeah.
The whole series. All 8 of them.
Please do. You'd get a lot out of it.
I don't know. I do like scary things. So upcoming, so that October Movie Club will take place on October 17th. So mark your calendars for that. And also, if you haven't seen Freddy's Revenge, get out there and watch it in advance so that we can make sure we have a really fun Q&A after we all watch it. So that's coming up on October 17th. Also, I'd be remiss to not touch on Tim Sack this week.
Or just to touch Tim Sack.
Because there's something
I am touching my sack right now.
We can actually see like the camera angle. I don't know if you know that. So, gross. So let me tell you, it's a long one, and I think it's a good one.
It is very long. I agree.
And because the question is long and complicated, I'd like to give this to you with zero preparation, as I like to do. So are you ready? This question's going to be for you, Tim. So this question comes in, and the comment comes in firstly. I would like to thank you for creating a podcast, Carrie, that provides much-needed solace in the interesting times in which we live. They were very specific about only naming my name.
This is why I have not said you're welcome, even though I ordinarily would.
No, I'm kidding. To all. And so thank you for that. That's very kind. But furthermore, I have a question for Tim. I am a great admirer of hand-drawn 2D animation, and one technique that has long fascinated me in the 2D animation of backgrounds for parallax, etc., as can be seen in The Thief and The Cobbler, Akira, etc. That's the end of a sentence.
Okay.
I'm
getting really, really excited. Keep going.
I don't mean simple multi-plane effects, but rather the more elaborate process of manually animating the entire background to enable complex camera movements. Okay?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Okay, sure.
I know what you mean.
I'm so glad. It seems to me that this is far more common in Japanese animation than in mainstream Western animation. And though Japanese films and series usually had far smaller budgets, period. So, for example, just off the top of my head, I can probably think of 5 or 6 sequences in Akira in which the background is wholly or partly animated to facilitate a complex camera movement, but can't recall having seen any in a Disney film other than perhaps 1 or 2 in Pinocchio. The Beauty and the Beast, this is in a parentheses, so this is a side thought. The Beauty and the Beast ballroom shot doesn't count because it's CGI. Of course, more experimental...
I completely agree.
Okay, me too. Of course, more experimental Western animations and commercials with deliberately showy technique are a far different matter. Or a little bit of a different matter. But they don't occupy the same economic, cultural position as anime films and series. Feels like that should be pluralized. Series? Serii?
No, series is plural.
Series. In this, just because I haven't seen enough Western animation, or I've seen the wrong era of Western animation, or is there some underlying artistic cultural reason? Question. Also, can you recommend any films that use the technique in a particularly effective or elaborate way? Question. I have already seen The Thief, The Cobbler, Raggedy Ann and Andy, A Musical Adventure, Akira, and all the Ghibli films, and many anime classics like Ghost in the Shell, Satoshi, Kon's work, Castle in Caligorosio, etc. So, also... Okay, so that's the question. I won't bombard you. What do you think?
So, I am right this minute, right today, in the process of writing a dissertation chapter about the use of parallax in backgrounds. So whoever you are who wrote this in, I don't know if you're one of my friends, I don't know if you're my advisor, but like you've hit the very heart of what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. A lot of parts to that question. I'll try to go through them quickly. So first, why is it more prominent in Japanese cinema than American animation? I think there's a really straightforward answer to that question, which is that at a fairly early point in the development of anime, the artists involved sort of agreed without there wasn't a collaboration or a conspiracy or anything. It just was sort of what naturally shook out. Japanese animation would be more focused on backgrounds and character animation. So Disney's big thing is character animation. Relatively early, by the beginning of the 70s, Japanese animation was much more about detailed, elaborate backgrounds. The characters are kind of simple. They don't move very much. This is I'd say the aesthetic difference between American and Japanese animation. So sort of as a very natural extension of that, the Japanese animators are going to sink more time into creating these really elaborate movements of background. And it's always going to be a trade-off. You can't make everything all the time perfect in an animated film, or it's going to take you 10 years to complete it. And of course, anime is being produced generally on less than 1 year production schedules. So I think that's a big part of it. That's where they focus their attention, so they have more time to focus on it. To the other question, this is actually what I've been writing about. Where are some good examples in American animation? First, you've nailed correctly that it does not show up very much in Disney because of the multiplane camera, which was their way of getting the same effect without having to work so hard at it. Because what you're describing, drawing, so just for those of you who have no idea, Carrie, what the hell that question was about, parallax refers to when you're moving. I
know, I'm aware of that. That's what I take when I'm having a little trouble going to the bathroom.
I get it. No, so when you're moving, you can really see this if you're driving in a car and you look to the right as you're driving. I just looked to the right. I don't know why I did that. The background, the things that are furthest from you are moving very slowly. And the things that are closest to you are moving much faster, right? That's parallax. Parallax is basically different planes of remove from you seem to move differently based on distance. So one of the ways that animation creates the sense that you're looking at something in depth is by recreating that. Multiplane was one way of doing that. It was a very relatively easy way of doing that compared to having to redraw the entire background over and over again. That being said, there were some experiments with doing parallax that way in the 30s. And if you have not seen the Disney Silly Symphony from, I believe, 1931 called Egyptian Melodies, 100% watch that. It's short. It doesn't really do anything else other than play around with parallax and redrawing the entire background. I think you'd get a huge kick out of it. Definitely not something that Disney does much of. Like, Disney is pretty reluctant to use this because it's a huge labor sink. It takes forever, and these are films being produced like once a month, these little shorts. So you're correct, it doesn't show up very often in American animation, but it does show up somewhat often or more often in like the first half of the 1930s. And again, Egyptian Melodies is sort of the one film where Disney was like specifically playing with that, so absolutely check that out. It's only like 7 minutes.
And on a side note too, this contributor also mentioned that they are also using a Linux. Also curious how you're liking that. Have you been able to log in less than 30 minutes lately?
I have. Thank you for asking.
Good.
I wonder if I sent this question in myself when I was asleep.
I was like, it's possible. It feels like a question you would ask. So thank you for
No, literally, like this is like so specifically what I've been working on. So I could have gone on like 4 times.
It's a plant. I actually sent it in.
Yeah, did we get the audience member saying who sent it in?
It's anonymous.
Oh, it's anonymous. Okay.
Oh, anonymous. Well, thank you, anonymous, for that very exciting question.
For this question. And if you too have a question like anonymous, you can submit those questions to contact@alternateending.com.
Also want to thank all of our listeners who support the show and make their Amazon purchases through our site. Doing it is easy. Just go to our website, alternateending.com, click on our Amazon banner, and seamlessly go about your purchases. All proceeds go to making our show better. Since our last episode, here were the things that were purchased.
So excited.
Little beauty and grooming items, some Maybelline Fit Me Loose finishing powder.
You need that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You need that.
The brand, the Fit Me Loose, though, I don't know if that's a good title for it.
I don't think you're saying it correctly.
That feels like an extraordinarily bad brand name for anything that you want to use to make yourself a human.
Yeah.
We also have some scar concealer. Maybe it could be also used as tattoo concealer. So
you could use that for your shark bite on your finger.
I have a shark bite?
Remember when I first met you, you were like, I was in a fight.
Oh, this thing in between?
But then we found out later that it was Rob's at-home waxing kit. Right?
Oh, this is from an acid burn from a wart I had on my hand as a child.
You've had so many lies. Yeah. I can't.
Books and textbooks, we had Dr. Horrible, the 2nd edition.
Ooh.
Also had The Royal Flash, The Flashman Papers. Also had Enrique's Journey, the story of a boy's dangerous odyssey to reunite with his mother. Not familiar with Enrique's Journey. Also some home items, Utopia. Oh, by the way, great show. Digging the show with John Cusack. Utopia's bedding fitted sheet. I don't imagine that it's the actual like TV show.
Like branded?
Branded on a bed sheet.
No.
But, yeah.
It feels like a generic enough name that it could just be the name of bed sheet.
It's also fade resistant, which is nice when Carrie urinates on the bed.
Let's say when you leave your bed out in the sun.
You're the one that urinates on the bed.
As one does.
The only person who gets anything on the sheets is Rob. My side is clean. Rob's side's just covered in boogers.
That's why I sleep on your side of the bed.
Yeah, I know.
I do my work there.
Rob's all his makeup.
Kindle books. What is the Text Encoding Initiative? Also, Revival and Awakening, American Evangelical Missionaries in Iran and the Origins of Assyrian Nationalism.
I'm so proud of you that you pronounced most of those words correctly.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
I feel like there's only one word that I know for a fact
Assyrian?
you pronounced wrong.
Assyrian.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What did you say? Assyrian? Was that what you said?
I was just trying to go through it really fast and hope that it worked.
I get it. Too many consonants in that word to go through it fast. You gotta just chew on Assyrian a little bit.
We also had the Book of Job, a history of interpretation and a commentary. Also, early Christian monastic. literature, and the Babylonian more Talmud stuff.
We were talking about this.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, kitchen and dining had some olive wood cooking spoon. Oh, that's very fancy.
Yeah, tell us
also
how
had
it works
a
out.
organic bamboo cutting board. Very nice. We had a Joe Blow Sprint floor bike pump. We need a new bike pump.
We do.
Yeah.
Is it supposed to resist?
No, it's supposed unless we're using it incorrectly. But I think it's damaged. I think
is it?
We need a Joe Blow Sprint floor bike pump.
If your pump is resisting, it is because it has reached near the maximum amount of air. That's its way of telling you stop pumping me. If you just like pump it and it resists, it's broken, and you should get a new one.
We need a new one.
Yeah. We also have Heart's Contraction Kitty Frenzy cat toy with 12 silver vine and catnip mice. Hey, educate me on catnip, folks. Is this something that gets your cat high? Am I understanding what catnip does?
Basically, I mean, whether it has the same
this
function
is news to
on a
Carrie.
cat.
What?
Oh yeah, no, it's a drug. Whether I don't know if what catnip does to a cat is what marijuana does to a person, so I don't want to use the word high. It causes a psychoactive reaction. Yes.
Catnip.
Yeah.
I would always feed my cat catnip if I had a cat.
Yeah, and they would.
You don't feed your cat
it.
catnip. Catnip is not nutritional. It's not like food.
This is the most important thing I've learned
I thought
today.
it might be news to Carrie, so I wanted to bring it up. Yeah.
Have you ever?
Well, you're not a cat owner,
catnip?
so that seems. Oh, routinely.
Really?
She loves catnip. Yeah.
Ah. Interesting.
Actually, interesting thing. Catnip is just sort of a run-of-the-mill mint. So most mints have some effect on cats. Catnip just has the most.
And what's the effect? What do you notice? What change?
They get very they start rolling around. They rub their bodies all over the catnip to get worked into their coat. They get very excited for about 5 minutes, and then they get very relaxed for a while after that.
You're describing ecstasy to me, is what I'm.
Actually, no, that kind of is what it looks like. It looks like the kitty's on X.
I would like you to be very honest, and no one's listening. Have you ever tried the catnip?
It's just mint. I actually have a tea that is for stomach. It's called tender tummy tea, or I forget what it's called. Something tummy. And it's basically a digestive aid, and cat mint which is not the same thing as catnip, but it's very similar. Cat mint is one of the ingredients in this tea. So yes, I have done catnip.
Wow, this is amazing.
We're blowing Carrie's mind here. Also had premium beauty product, Dermablend leg and body makeup with a little SPF. People forget to put the SPF on.
You get leg makeup?
We get just body makeup, yeah, absolutely.
On your leg?
Body makeup. It's for leg and body.
I mean, I imagine you're wearing body makeup right now, Rob.
Mm-hmm. I am.
Are you?
That
Concealer.
explains why you look so very, very handsome right now.
Glowing.
I do?
Fabulous.
Okay, well, thank you.
Of the three people on this Zoom call, you look the most handsome, I think.
Okay, where are my reactions? Where's the thumbs down on this thing?
Also had not one, but two pull-up bars purchased. Those little chin bars. I really do want one of those. I need to work on the biceps.
We already gave it away for the white elephant gift after we bought one, and then you never used it.
I cannot do an unsupported pull-up. If I'm at a gym and I'm trying to do pull-ups, I have to do that thing that you kneel on it and it pushes you up a little bit. I don't have the arm strength to
It's not your arm strength. Well, it might be a combination. Here's the problem. Rob has such frail legs that when he can do them because there's nothing to actually lift. I feel like it's a proportion thing. I think we're actually strong, but I just have
I'm not.
Leg.
I mean, you very well might be.
I don't know. You're like, I am not. No, I'm not.
Guess the number of movies rented or purchased on demand. We had Red Scorpion, classic. Night of the Creeps, very good.
Very
Fighting.
nice.
I'm trying to remember Fighting.
Oh yeah, Fighting. Fighting. I do remember Fighting. I saw Fighting.
Okay.
Good.
I think that's an early Channing Tatum film.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's like a brawler, right? for money.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
Yes, and then 6 Degrees of Separation, which I have not thought about for some time.
Yeah, that's an oldie.
Yeah, Donald Sutherland, Will Smith. Am I in the ballpark there?
Definitely, Donald Sutherland. I think Will Smith definitely. Stockard Channing definitely.
Nice.
I mean, I haven't thought about this movie in a lot of years, so honestly, I don't have the cast to heart. But
no. And then on Blu-ray and DVD, someone picked up the 4K Ultra HD, The Shining. Oh,
nice!
I'm sure that looks glorious.
We should watch that again.
I would. You know what? Get me a PlayStation 5 to play the 4K disc, and I will absolutely get you The Shining.
Not getting you that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
And a 4K monitor for it to actually look like anything on it.
Oh yeah, and get me that too. And then we had also on Blu-ray. The Criterion Blu-ray, Godzilla the Show era film. So that's 54 to 75.
Oh yeah, The Showa set. It's real nice. Actually, I bought that myself not that long ago.
Very good. Well,
actually, it was about a year ago at this point. But.
Thank you for all your purchases. When we get back, our top 5 Netflix originals. And welcome back to Alternating. We're talking about our top 5 Netflix originals. Care, as I mentioned earlier, almost 300. I want to from my list, I got 289 Netflix originals. So I'm curious to you, Care. Number 1, how many have you seen? Actually, before that one, what do you define as a Netflix original?
So here's how I absolutely defined it. I went out to Wikipedia and I Googled Netflix originals, and then I looked at that list and picked 5 that were my favorite.
Nice.
Yep.
Any sense of how many of the Netflix originals you've seen?
Not nearly as many as I thought.
Like more
Ballpark,
than a baker's dozen?
Less than 30.
Okay.
Less than 30.
Okay.
Yeah. I was surprised actually how many there were, to be honest. How about you?
Tim, go ahead.
To whom are you throwing that?
Yeah.
Whoever. Tim, do you know how many you've seen?
I will say, no, my process, Carrie, was exactly the opposite of yours. So you went to Wikipedia and searched for Netflix original films. I Googled Netflix original films and clicked on the link to the Wikipedia.
And this is why we're such different people. Like, we can never find a common ground. Yeah, no, I agree.
And so I then scrolled through, as I'm presently scrolling through again, the list of original films, which some Wikipedia editor has... Used to be that this list was broken out by genre. Now it's broken out by decade. I'm not sure which one of those I like better, gotta be honest. And I also picked the 5 that I like best. Interesting. And I also don't really have any sense whatsoever of how many I've seen. I can try to count that up very quickly.
No, it doesn't need to be. I'm just like,
on the fly.
A quarter, 10%,
Oh, not 10%. Less than 10%, certainly.
You've seen less than 10% of these. Wow.
What about you?
I mean, so many of these films are like The Christmas Prince Part 7. And shit like that.
Why do you keep spoiling my list? Don't call these things out.
You have to literally tie me down and put a gun to my head.
Every time I went back, I used the same list. To be honest, I wanted to be quote unquote pure and go with only Netflix produced films, but I had no good way of getting that list of what they've actually produced.
Netflix obscures that deliberately.
Okay.
Netflix deliberately makes that difficult for you to tell.
Yeah, I could not. I know, for instance, most of their early works were just things that they distributed, but now they're actually making The Old Guard, for example, or any of the murder mystery with Jennifer Aniston, Adam Sandler. I believe those are all Netflix made films and distributed.
Oh yeah. We don't even have to go down to the gutter. We can say The Irishman was a Netflix production. They paid for that.
Yeah.
Roma was a Netflix production.
See, that was one I wasn't sure about. Was Roma whether they picked that one up? Okay.
They paid for Roma.
How many?
And so I did not draw a distinction there.
Yeah. So of the 289 movies that I saw on the list that have been released as of this recording, I've seen 40. So that's 13.8.
I've seen less than that.
Yeah, way less.
It makes sense that I would have seen more, Tim. You're more theatrical in anyway, and you don't like watching crap. There's a lot of crap on the list.
As I say, most of what they released seems to be bad. For the record, I'm scrubbing through my top 5 real quick. I'm pretty sure they paid for all 5 of mine.
So I think maybe on mine too, but
all productions.
I didn't.
And that's not true for mine. I would 2 of the ones on my list I believe were earlier on, and it was things that they picked up. Although I'll have to check with one of them because I don't really remember what the origin story was of it, but I ranked mine less about quality of movie because there were certainly I can appreciate that I know that my taste in movies, what I respond to, is different than necessarily it being a great movie. So I picked the ones that I personally just really I would like to watch again. I really enjoyed. These are the ones I would recommend versus realizing that it's a very good movie.
I tried to do that. I did. I really did. And then the movies that I really enjoyed that are on there, then there was this one movie that I'm like, it's very clearly the best movie, terms, and I was just like, and then when I looked at the other ones that would have been above it, I was just like, no, it's too embarrassing. Even though I really like some of these ones that are not as good and cheesier, I was too appalled with myself to
you're not being your authentic self.
I'm not being my authentic self.
I decided to go authentic this time. Usually I'm not.
That's very weird. I'm not used to that.
So we're not going to line up and have a super long episode.
Sorry. So we'll make it snappy. We'll get through it fast. But I've got some good ones. I found a handful that are good.
I will just throw out there that this is much simpler for me because all of the ones that you people are talking about I find unwatchably bad, so it was not a consideration.
Hey, all of mine except for one are 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, and every single one. Not that people care about
the ones Carrie is talking about. The ones Carrie is talking about.
I don't think so. I actually have like self-identified now that I'm no longer casual. I think I'm a cinephile.
All right, so well, hit us with your number 5 then.
I'm going to give you my number 5.
Miss Cinephile.
Miss Cinephile. Who this brings you Selena Gomez. Who's so good in this, where this is the fundamentals of caring.
Oh, so really Selena Gomez.
It's really
I thought
Selena
you were joking
Gomez.
about the
I couldn't
Christmas
think of how to
Princess
describe
or whatever.
it. No.
Because I think she's in that.
This is Craig Robert, Selena Gomez, and Paul Rudd. Have you guys seen this?
Yes.
Have you seen it, Tim?
I completely forgot this existed, honestly. No, I have not seen it.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the premise. Paul Rudd's character's retired from writing. He goes through this personal tragedy and decides to leave being a writer. So with no experience, he signs up to be a caregiver for this wheelchair-bound teen who's angry and depressed and, concerned that he's never going to be able to live the life that he wants to live because he's in a wheelchair, and he ends up taking him on this journey of like this road trip of self-discovery. It is super, super sweet. Like it's cheesy and it's totally Netflix and it's not a blockbuster.
It's basically like Me Before You, except without or is it without the romanticism?
Unknown. And it's without the really devastating ending. Is it? How did it end, actually? Is it devastating?
I don't think so.
I don't know. You're the only one who saw it.
I know. I can't remember.
I don't think the kids.
I don't think it would make it on my list if it was too devastating.
I will say I'm just glossing over the Wikipedia summary.
Does anyone die?
I don't know because I've gotten hung up on the third from the last sentence of the Wikipedia summary. Ben helps Trevor fulfill his wish of urinating standing up.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, exactly.
So this sounds like a great piece of cinema.
Isn't it so sweet?
So wait, this is
any movie for whom the emotional climax is a pissing scene is a movie that I would have to be paid money to watch.
So in your series, like you decided to go the route of the cinephile and like pick the greater movies, and this is what you're starting off with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, think about this though. Like, think about the self-reflection that you have to have. I mean, Rob could stand and pee, but opts not to. So it's one of those things like
I'm not taking full advantage.
You're taking things for granted in your life. I know.
I'm also protecting my kidneys.
Do you think that that's what it is?
That's what
We've talked about this before. I think Tim's a sitter too. Right?
No, good God, no.
Oh, really? Oh, you strike me as
not
one.
in public bathrooms, mind you. Just in my home.
I mean, I have already this day come out in favor of toxic masculinity. Clearly, I pee stand.
You just said Rob's just too lazy and the weak legs.
That's fair.
So he just sits. So
that's the thing. I pee standing up because I'm lazy. Like sitting down makes you. It adds like seconds.
I see. This all makes perfect sense to me. So I too aspire to pee standing up, but I loved this movie. I thought it was sweet. I thought it was fun. I thought it was one of the, like when I'm looking for a Netflix experience, I'm looking for like an escape, and it's just like, I just want to be like something that's not offensive. It's like fun. It's light. And this one Paul Rudd was really charming in it, as he always is.
Okay. Cool.
And so there's cinephile pick number 1 for you. On to you, Tim.
Excellent. I just want to begin with the sort of addendum to my list, which is I wanted to watch a few more films that I have not seen, just because it felt like they had at least a chance of breaking onto the top 5. So I want to start by apologizing for these 4 films that I have never seen them. From 2015, the very first film that Netflix released as an original, this was definitely a pickup, not a production, Beasts of No Nation. From 2016, I believe also a film they only distributed, I Am the Pretty Thing That Lives in the House. And then 2 films from 2019 that I know they produced both of these. Both of them are Steven Soderbergh films, one of my favorite directors. I still haven't gotten around to watching either one of them. High Flying Bird and The Laundromat.
You're okay.
So those are 4 films I have not seen.
You're fine with the last 2.
Rob wouldn't let me watch Beasts of No Nation. He was like, you won't make
it. Beasts you should watch.
Now, Rob, would I like High Flying Bird?
I don't think so.
Would you like High Flying Bird? Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And maybe there's something interesting about the way it's shot, but I didn't particularly care for the plot. Okay. But I know the plot's not necessarily your bag anyway. But right. Laundromat, I mean, it's more stylized certainly, and it's more playful and fun. But
okay,
a far cry from the best Soderbergh stuff. So that's your shame list. Okay.
That's my shame list. So my actual number 5, this is definitely a film that Netflix paid for, made some splash as being one of Netflix's first films to play at the Cannes Film Festival, which has been sort of an ongoing tension between Netflix and film festivals generally, but Cannes specifically. This is 2017's Palme d'Or competitor, did not win anything, Okja, which was a film by Bong Joon-ho, his film directly prior to Parasite, which of course is the movie that like made him a huge name in the English-speaking world. Some of us were already on the Bong train well before Parasite. So Okja is a film that he made about factory farming and environmentalism and the relationship of like the industrialized, like basically the first world and the first world parts of East Asia, basically, and how they sort of ping off of each other and challenge each other. Crazy, bizarre, messy live action cartoon about this like genetically modified super pig and the young girl who is like trying to save the super pig from being taken by this disgusting factory farming combine. It's my number 5 in part because I think it's actually slightly a disaster. Like it is all over the place. It has like 19 different tones. It has actors giving everywhere from these very like nuanced naturalistic performances to Jake Gyllenhaal doing, I don't even goddamn know what Jake Gyllenhaal thinks he's up to in this film. But it's never boring. It's super weird, and everyone knows I love weird. And I mean, it's kind of the first time that Netflix really was like, yes, we want to play in the sandbox of major world cinema. And so they gave Bong Joon-ho a chance when Bong Joon-ho was still he didn't have that Parasite glow, right? So like this, I feel like this was a sort of a bold, brave move for them, and I'm glad they made it because it gave us a Bong Joon-ho film that I very much enjoy. I very much enjoy how crazy it is.
Can you watch this with the kids?
I hope not.
Our kids really like pigs. Mm-hmm. And I always passed it. I thought it was an anteater the whole time. So, and I'm not into anteaters.
I would suggest your kids would not like this movie enough to watch it.
It is it is on our shame list. I also identified some shame. Besides Okja was To Five Bloods. I thought, possibly could be something that might... but Okja was one that I feel I regret not seeing that possibly could have made my list.
I definitely feel like insofar as there have only been like 4 good movies released in 2020, you should definitely see The Five Bloods just because it's a movie from 2020 that doesn't suck.
Yeah.
You gotta get on that.
I'm bringing you a very similar in this number 5 in the sense that it pushes some boundaries. It's a little weird. Its first act makes you think it's going one way, and then the second act goes somewhere completely different. It's a horror film that has stuck with me since I've seen it. Tim, I don't even know if I don't think you've reviewed it on the site. This is 2018's The Perfection.
I thought about this one.
Yeah.
We were just talking about this.
This almost made my shame list.
Okay. It's
I had so many people telling me that I would love this movie and I just never got around to it.
It's not a great filmmaking experience but like it sticks with you. I mean, it's well shot. And it just is weird, and it really throws you for a loop as to where it goes, and it's just so weird.
It's really weird.
It's really weird. I think I prefer the concept of the first act, and I almost wish it would have just kept going with that. But then I'm okay with where it ends up as well too. And this is about focuses on Allison Williams, who's a troubled musical prodigy, plays the cello, and she seeks out kind of an old, what is it? A conservancy person who she went to school with, who's very like best cellist in the world. Seeks her out. They kind of get together, and then the movie just walks down as IMDb says, a sinister path with shocking consequences. It is a shocking film. In the first act, second, third, it really takes. Like I couldn't tell where the turns were going.
Stuttering your way through it because I feel like it's hard to.
I don't want to spoil anything because it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, please don't, because I haven't seen it. And I would like to.
It's a ton of fun.
Maybe maybe even this October for
yeah.
a scary movie.
And Allison Williams is, I think she's a great actress. I really enjoyed her in this, along with Elena Huffman. Steven Weber, if you're a Wings fan, you'll see him in here as well.
Who is not a Wings fan? Wait,
so.
is he? Steven Weber is he Joe?
He's Joe.
He's Joe.
Wait, no, not Joe. Brian.
Oh yeah, Brian. That's right.
Brian's the headmaster of this conservancy.
I was a Joe fan though.
Conservatory. Excuse me, not conservancy.
Were you Joe or Brian?
I was
Joe.
a Joe fan, but
Joe.
I'm a Steven Weber as an actor fan. I think he has had the more satisfying career post Wings.
I agree.
So I know Tim has an excuse. He hasn't seen it and care. What?
What's
going on?
I don't know. You and I
much
just
better than
just
the fun,
3 days ago.
Far more memorable.
Well, I mean, Rob, is there a pissing scene in The Perfection?
I'm trying. I mean,
I think there is.
There very well might be. There's everything else in there. No, I don't know. No, I don't believe there is. But I want Carrie to defend this, not having this over fundamentals of
I just
caring.
couldn't remember. So I said, Rob, a few days ago, I was like, hey, Rob, do you remember that movie with the cellist? And like, what happened in that? I felt like when I saw that, when I was going through it, I'm like, oh, there's that movie. That's what it was called. But then when I sat back, I was like, what actually happened? Like, I could almost not remember because, like Rob said, it jumps all over the place to sort of and switches tones, and like what you think is happening changes so many times that I really only kind of remember the end. And I remember liking the beginning better, but I only remember the end because it's more shocking. So I just thought, if I can't even remember what happened, it's probably shouldn't make my list. So, but
I think Tim will like the end. Yeah. So? Anyway, I don't want to talk more about it.
Maybe we'll find out soon.
Yeah. Maybe there's more than just
for the record, since I'm just sort of curious and keeping track of this, this was distributed by Netflix, but not produced by them.
Interesting. Okay.
So
that's not a pure. It's not a pure pick.
Not a pure pick, but you know what is?
But
a
I mean,
pick?
again, I don't think Carrie and I care.
No.
So.
I care. Here's another one that's distributed, produced, and acted by Netflix. This is a good one. This is my cinephile pick number 4. This brings you probably 2 of the best actors of all time. Probably. That is Ray Romano and Mark Duplass.
And here's our first lineup.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
At number 4, too, for me.
Nice. Number 4. This is Paddleton. Mm-hmm. So this is, and Rob talked about it before. I think Rob maybe even cried, but at the time we weren't on video. So now maybe I can bring Rob to tears. I'm going to try to bring him to tears on this video as I tell you what it's about. So what if I told you one friend, played by Mark Duplass, is diagnosed with terminal cancer, like a really bad one. He's really sick.
As opposed to one of those good terminal cancers.
He's very ill, like stage 4. And he's very loved by his friend, Ray Romano. And so he makes the choice.
Well, the only relationship either of these two people have are each other. They're neighbors.
They're neighbors. They don't have anybody else.
Yeah. And they watch kung fu movies together. Like that's their thing.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet.
Like movies, and they eat together, and they're really all they have. But Mark Duplass decides he doesn't want to like live through the impending future, what's coming, impending pain that could be coming. He doesn't want to do that, so he makes the choice to end his life. So the story ends up being the road trip between the two of them. They have to drive 6 hours to end up getting this medication that he has to take, and it ends up being a story about like their travel along the way, the experiences they have, the fun that they have together, and their relationship. It's heart-wrenchingly sweet.
It's funny right up until the end.
And then at the end...
And then it is not.
There's a turn, and it is so real and so, like you feel your chest tightening, painful, and it is... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you've ever had a friend that I feel like there's a platonic love in here where like they really love each other. And I've had that in have that in some of my own friendships where like I genuinely like love you, you know, and and you feel that in this movie, which makes it all the more painful. So this is my number 4.
Likewise, quirky friend road trip movie.
He's tearing a little bit on the
like
edge.
with serious tones in it, like at the end. It's very memorable, highly memorable. And I'm a big I like Mark Duplass a lot and his his indie sensibility, independent movie sensibilities. Like I love the little touches. The Paddleton is based on a game that the two of them play that they've invented. Super sweet. I should check out who wrote this because maybe it's the director Alex. I was going to say the director's Alex. But fantastic film.
Did you ever see
on
this,
Netflix.
Tim?
I did. I thought it was cute and fine. I'm kind of the opposite of Rob.
I know you don't like the Duplass
very much. So
it's like being the funny person and stuff like that. Not into that.
And for the record, Lehman and Duplass co-wrote the script.
Makes sense.
It does.
Which I thought might be the case. Yeah, no, I thought it was nice. I didn't gel with the characters.
Did you cry, though, at the end?
I would not have done that if I had not gelled with the characters, no.
Oh, gosh. All right. Well, if you've missed Paddleton and you
just haven't seen that
soul,
depicted.
I would go see it.
Haven't seen it depicted on screen before the ending. So that was tough.
Number 4, line up. Tim, to your number 4.
So to my number 4, this is a film that made me cry.
Oh boy!
Only it was less a sort of like cozy, warm cry and more a howl of pain that the world is awful and all the suffering. This is a film I had no expectations for, and I have continuously wondered ever since 2017, did I give this film a little bit too much credit because my expectations were so low, and it wildly surpassed them. This is the most recent film directed by Angelina Jolie, as a Netflix production. Again, this was a film Netflix ponied up the money for. This is First They Killed My Father, which is her adaptation of the memoir of a young woman who basically during the Khmer Rouge regime was trained as a child soldier, and it's like her experience as a child. So the whole film is from the perspective of this character as a little girl. The character is I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation, I apologize, Loang Ung, who is the co-writer of the screenplay, the writer of their memoir, and it's basically just watching the process by which Ung survives being a child soldier and eventually is able to sort of extract herself from that world and heal. And we see like basically that's where the film stops. Like it doesn't show us the future. It doesn't show us like the healthy process after this. It's really just about like sort of being in that time and paying testimony to like, this is what happened in Cambodia in the 1970s.
Sounds awful.
It's not like pleasant. So, I mean, that's the thing. But just an extremely, extremely powerful, like just subjective first-person experience of this really horrible experience. I think I just said experience twice in like 4 words. It's this really amazing thing that Jolie as director does to kind of put us in the position of the little girl and not bring all of our adult knowledge and our adult context and just really sort of experience this the way she experienced this. I thought it was a shattering film. I just thought this was such a powerful experience. Really, really, really admire this film. Not a fun movie, not a movie to love, but I was really impressed with this. And I remain quite surprised that Angelina Jolie, who I think is not a terribly, like, her directing is not so great. Let's just, I just don't think it is. I thought she did a really phenomenal job with this film.
Okay.
All right. Well, I see your child soldier movie at number 4, and I raise you.
I'm on 3. It's
I know.
me.
I was going to go because it's a good segue, and you just ruined it.
Sorry.
I raise you my number 3 child soldier film.
You did the other child soldier movie?
Yeah, which is on your shame list. It's the first. I got so excited when Netflix
said never to watch this.
I know. I said you should not watch this movie. It's beautiful filmmaking, and that's 2015's Beasts of No Nation, directed by Kari Joji Fukunaga. Sweeping epic. I don't know how they did this on what I'm reading is a $6 million budget, but you're brought into the world of young Agu, played by Abraham Attah, seeing his experiences being separated from his family, joining up with a child soldier group and fighting in a civil war, and all of the horrific things that he has to see and grows up with over that period of time. But just, it is shot. There are so many one-take scenes in this that I just have no idea how they were able to pull it off. Why this was not, I know why, but it should have been nominated for some Oscars here, and I think this was like
it was a straight up scandal that Idris Elba was not nominated for.
Oh, and Idris Elba, because I don't even have Idris Elba's name here. I forgot. Oh my gosh, he's like the leader of the child soldiers. Fantastic.
So he's not a good guy. He's the bad guy. Okay.
Well, no one in this is. There's no. This is why it's like a very defeating movie to watch.
There's no hero that comes in to try and help him out.
It's real life. I mean, this depicts, what I imagine, the whole child soldier situation is like, and it's in an unnamed African country. It's not supposed to be like picking on any one type of situation, but this kind of stuff happens. You hear about it, and it's awful. It is just awful.
Yeah.
And Fukunaga, like, started off really strong with Sonombre, is supposed to be this next big thing, and like I feel like hasn't seen his due yet. I mean, obviously with No Time to Die getting pushed back, we're not going to see what he could do with the big property, but I don't know if he's difficult to work with or what, but I feel like you'd expect him to have more films under his belt because he's a great director.
So what's the message? What are you supposed to walk away from? What are you supposed to do? What action do you take after you see it?
I think you see it, and then it drives you to want to try to figure out and sort things out to not let this kind of stuff happen in countries.
I think it feels like it's a movie about not letting your child become a child soldier.
It's super sobering. I mean,
yeah, but I feel like you see these, and then it's like, what do you do?
Drinking alcohol, taking drugs, raping, pillaging, like as I don't know how old he is, 10, like, and you see this take place in graphic fashion. Like very little is left to the imagination. Like it's all right there in front of you.
I could not do that. I could not.
And it's just the nature of how evil is it can be is a learned behavior, is like absolutely learning, coerced through a group mentality type of thing, and like you end up doing things that you didn't realize and then at the end of it, it's like now that it's whatever thing is over, how do you ever get back to like the time before that, like, and erase everything you've done.
Yeah.
And can you? Yeah. So
I'm horrified. I will never, like, I'm stressed
movie,
out right now with you.
It's a beautiful movie. Unforgettable. Yeah.
So
I'd be curious how that stacks up.
I was going to say, I take it, Carrie, that your number 3 is not a child soldier movie.
Mine is not, but it's almost as scary. Because I'll tell you what's happening. We don't even really know what's happening. That's what's happening. And that's the scariest part about it. So essentially, there's sort of like this unidentified force that's out there in nature. And it's causing society to die.
Oh my God.
And then, no, I'm going to get there. You probably don't know what it is.
God.
You're going to love this one. So the only rule of survival, I love when there's rules. The only rule of survival is you can't look at it or you'll really die. So what if I told you all you have to do is live your life blindfolded? And if you want to get to save your family, you've got to travel a really long way with a blindfold on. What if I told you all of that? And that's where you get to the third best Netflix original of all time, Bird Box.
Wow. This is such a bad movie.
This is not a bad movie.
I at least believed you when you said you were going the cinephile route. And,
I feel as though you guys think this is me like being like, oh, I like Nickelback. Like, you guys are just too cool. I'm being honest.
You do like Nickelback, though.
I do like Nickelback.
I'm also being honest. For the record, I really like the child soldier movie better than Bird Box.
This is just...
I am likelier to rewatch the child soldier movie than I am to rewatch Bird Box.
Oh, come on. I would absolutely watch this. There's nothing better than somebody having to, like, lose a sense. You know, like, what do you do? What happens to the world in this apocalyptic-y thing where, like, what do you do when all you have is Sandra Bullock to get you to safety? And everybody loved this movie.
A lot of people saw it.
A lot of people saw it.
I don't mind it.
It was a big hit over the Christmas 2018 frame.
Yeah. I like it. It is a bit formulaic. It's like this is Netflix algorithm, like taking all the pieces and writing.
It's very much, and I know the timing doesn't work out this way. It feels like if you rush a Quiet Place knockoff into production, the second that a Quiet Place opens big, this is what you get, to me.
Yep.
I liked A Quiet Place more, but I'd watch this again. I'd watch Bird Box again for sure.
Okay.
It's tense. Yeah. It's scary. What happens? What are you going to do?
The opening is
if your little blindfold comes off.
The opening is one of the better things for me.
What happened?
As it starts happening.
Yeah.
In the car.
Because people see it. Once you see the thing, you just like steer off and people just die everywhere. So people love this. Everybody agrees with me. Gets 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. People love it. If you've missed it,
I know for a fact that's not true because I have a negative review on Rotten Tomatoes.
Let me ask you,
only one.
Tim. What's the Shyamalan?
The Sixth Sense.
No.
The Happening.
Yeah, The Happening. Between The Happening and Bird Box, what do you pick there?
Both are so good. How do you decide?
I think The Happening is a worse film, but because it is a worse film, it is slightly more entertaining as camp.
Okay, interesting. It's just very similar films, and it's just interesting that Bird Box had got so many eyeballs on it, and nobody seems to like The Happening.
It's just because it was the Netflix film that opened over Christmas. I think that's like 90% of it.
Okay.
And people like Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock.
I don't love Sandra Bullock, but people like Sandra Bullock.
Oh my gosh. How are you in this business? I don't even know.
I just don't even know.
So that's my number 3. That takes it to Tim's number 3, right?
That does take it to my number 3.
We're going to line up.
Which actually keeps us, I bet we don't.
Oh.
This is another film that premiered in the fall of 2018. So sort of the same time frame as Bird Box. A film that was one of the, so 2018 was the big onslaught of like Netflix wants an Oscar. Like they had been failing for a couple of years at that point to get any sort of traction. And this did get some traction. It got 3 Academy Award nominations, which was kind of a big deal. And it's also their work with one of their very few examples of them working with major filmmakers and not having those major filmmakers turn out one of their very worst pieces of cinema, which happens a lot with Netflix. Like you see all these promising directors. I think we all feel the same way about Hold the Dark, which is that it's like such a bizarre misfire. This is not a bizarre misfire. This is a shockingly good film by the Coen brothers, given everything stacked up against it. I'm referring to The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, an anthology film set in the American West, 6 different stories about aspects of sort of the West: comedy, musical, tragedy, drama, like very, very heavy stories about death, very fluffy and funny stories about death. It's just kind of this encapsulation of all the things that interest the Coen brothers built into this genre framework. A bit on the long side, as anthologies tend to be. Not all the sequences are as good as each other, as tends to be the case. But a film that I saw and liked and has just lived with me. And I think about it a lot. And it's really just blossomed in my estimation since the first time I saw it.
I think about it a lot,
to
too.
the point where I think it's one of my mid-tier Coen films, which given how much I expected this to be a bottom-tier Coen film, I think that is a triumph.
I need to give it another shot. I never finished it. Carrie did, or got close to, I think.
Did.
Yeah, this is one of the few reversals that we had there. I need to give it another shot.
I don't think you do. I don't think you do. I don't think you like it.
I think it's a great film. I think you should see
it.
Do
you have a favorite? I think you ranked your favorite vignette or sequence or
his favorite was my least favorite one, I
Liam
think.
Neeson one? Is that the...
Yes. Right?
No, that was nowhere near. That was probably my least favorite.
Oh, too. It was? Yeah, that was my least favorite.
No, my favorite was the Tim Blake Nelson one.
Oh, the opening. Yeah. That one I did.
The cowboy with it gets shot in the face, that one?
Yeah. I feel like that happens multiple times.
Oh, does it?
The singing.
Yeah.
The singing cowboy, yes.
I don't know. It was too weird. I don't know. I didn't like that one.
I get that the difference between this and something like Bird Box is that this is good and Bird Box is bad. So
you know what? I'll give you in this one. I think I would have enjoyed it better if I was blindfolded as well. So we can connect on that.
I'll take that. I will happily take that.
So where does that leave us?
Or you can go to number 2 if you like.
Number 2, this is the one that's going to line up with all of you guys because this is where I get truly cinephile on you. I first saw this and I was like, 1 star, I hate it. And then I was like, the next day I was like, I guess it's 2 stars. And then like the third day I was like, it's probably 3. And then I think I landed at 4 at the very end.
All the way up to 3 stars. Okay, 4
from
stars.
1 to 4 in a week because I was just like, I just was it stuck with me. It stuck with me and it hurt for a long time. And just the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, this is just such a moving movie. And this is the story that chronicles a year in the life of Cleo, a young housekeeper living in Mexico City who cares for a young family and ends up being much, much more to the family than just an employee. This is Alfonso Cuarón's Roma at my number 2.
This is my number 2.
Oh, is it?
Good job.
Oh,
Yep.
I know that.
I somehow knew this is exactly what you were talking about when you were saying like it stuck with you and that it hurt. Like it's like it does.
It does hurt. It hurts for a long time. Like I think about Cleo and I think about how Cleo is so many people you know, and she's so beloved by this family and by her children, but yet like she still is an employee, but she means so much to them, and she dedicates so much of her life to them, and she essentially puts her own life above this family, like, and that is, I don't know, it's just it's really powerful. So this is Yalitza. Can you say her name so I don't screw it up?
I will screw it up.
Yalitza. So it's less embarrassing if I do it.
I don't know.
Aparicio. Okay. She and Marina de Tavira. It sticks with me now. I don't think I could watch it again, but it's just
I haven't rewatched the whole thing. I've rewatched portions of it. I invested in the Criterion Collection Blu-ray just because I think it's such an unspeakably beautiful film. It's just in this rich digital black and white. And it's so, it holds up, and it's so powerful and so troubling. And I mean, everything you said and more, like, such a wonderful story of how this woman kind of suffers quietly because the world doesn't pay attention to people like her, and it's the movie's way of sort of like trying to give her that attention. Really interesting the way that the film keeps bringing in like the tormented politics of Mexico in 1970 sort of keep flickering in on the edges, but never become what the film is about. Because again, it's all about stepping back from these like great historical currents and like the things we read about in textbooks to just focus on what is the life of the kind of person who just gets no position in history, and how are we going to really just explore her world and her life and her suffering. Incredibly powerful film. This was, again, 2018, the year that Netflix really did that heavy push to get in the Oscars. And this won a nice set of Oscars. It won Best Foreign Language Film. It won Best Cinematography. It won Best Director. Those last two both went to Alfonso Cuarón. Should have won Best Picture. I think it was clearly a shock.
What one? I forget.
Didn't. Green Book.
Yeah, that's...
It's hard to say that Green Book and this film are playing in the same sandbox.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
And yeah, this is a movie that I think is just really, really sobering and both beautiful and somewhat like horrifying in the way that it's beautiful.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Not though on your list, Rob, is what I'm hearing.
No, it is. I would absolutely stand by to say like it's the best film in the Netflix catalog. But just
Rob
not
had a
for
hard
me.
time with it. He had a hard time with some of it.
Yeah, it's just like it's not my favorite top 5 favorite films, but I can absolutely appreciate it's the best filmmaking put on screen by Netflix. I ended up going for my number 2 with another Oscar grab for Netflix in Marriage Story, very true to life. Noah Baumbach's 2019's Marriage Story, starring Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, chronicling just what a very realistic depiction of a breakup, and kind of going through the nuances of what a bad divorce looks like.
It's my number 1.
Is it your number 1?
It is my number 1.
Wow. Okay. So see, we got some lining up.
I know. I thought it could be you. It could be you. It could be you. It could be anybody.
It's bookended by 2 of just fantastic performances. Yeah. Just very super memorable. Could be anybody's life. I think the stage of life that we're at, like that, a lot of these types of things are happening, and just a very realistic depiction of that. And
I don't think we've ever had a fight that bad. So there's a fight scene in this. If you haven't caught this movie, and you should, there's a fight scene in this movie that's so like you're crawling out of your skin, like you're just like, oh, it's so hurtful and it's so like mean. And everybody's had some level of this argument in their life, but like this one, for me, it was just like my heart was racing, I was sweating, I was trying to like not look because it was just like watching two
it shows
people.
How quickly too, like you can go from love and how quickly it can devolve into hatred, and then it becomes a little bit of a game. The divorce situation does to like win, you know.
Laura Dern wins Best Supporting that year.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah, so it's just a really interesting depiction of that process, and I hadn't seen it really done as well until we also saw a Patreon pick.
Scenes from Marriage.
Scenes from Marriage. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that was also like devastating. I just don't like fighting. I don't like watching people fight or fighting. But like the number one thing that sort of leads up to this in the movie is, I think that the defining thing that either like takes you from this couple to divorce or takes you to like reconciling is resentment. Like it's the resentment that builds over time, and resentment's like one of the most toxic things that if you can't like hold of that, it turns into this situation. And I thought it was one of the best depictions of marriage as well. Best, worst, I don't know.
Not on your list, Tim.
No, it didn't really stick with me, honestly. I thought it was fine.
Every time I play with a utility knife, I think of Adam Driver's character in this.
Oh yeah.
I don't play with utility knives. Maybe if I did, it would have stuck with me more. No, of Netflix's 2019 Oscar push, I certainly liked The Irishman better.
Oh, wow. Okay. The weird CGI faces. No.
I mean, that's a problem, but I think everything else is very good in The Irishman.
So what's your number one?
Well, it is not The Irishman.
Okay.
It is.
I know
it is a film. You do.
I don't know if
I'm so sorry, Carrie.
Oh my gosh, I know what it is now.
This literally, like, this is the times where I'm like, should we break up? Like, I don't know. It's hard to know how this is working out.
This is. Is it a Netflix production, given that the whole thing was shot in the 70s? I don't know, but they paid to complete it. We would not have this movie in the world if not for Netflix. Talking about Orson Welles' The Other Side of the Wind, which Netflix paid to complete, paid to iron out a really insane, complicated legal gnarl. And in 2018, we finally got this film that had been kicking around for 40 plus years waiting to be finished. Still, I think, one of the great pieces of cinema I have encountered in the last 10 years. I couldn't bring myself to put this on my top of the decade just because it just felt wrong to say that this was a film from the 2010s. But I will call it a Netflix original because, again, it is thanks to Netflix. This is them using their powers for good for a change to actually finally complete this movie. And I think it's just such a complete work. Like, there's so much going on in the narrative and how the images are shot and how the images have been assembled, the performances. This is a movie that I find difficult to exhaust. And
I do too.
Hope and pray that at some point it's going to be released on Blu-ray by Criterion. This seems like a natural fit. It hasn't been yet, but I definitely this deserves better than streaming. And I think that is true for very few Netflix films.
Netflix is so interesting because they do these prestige things like The Other Side of the Wind, but then they also do Six Underground and Project Power
or Hubie Halloween.
Hubie Halloween. Like, are they?
Which
working?
I assume is your number one. Rob.
Yeah, but they're capturing everybody.
I know, but are they working to the middle? Is that what they're doing? The both extremes, and then, like, I guess why try to please the cinephile? Why do The Other Side of the Wind? There's got to be someone high up who like that matters, like the prestige matters.
I feel like there's a couple specific films. Other Side of the Wind is one of them. Irishman is one of them. Roma is maybe one of them. Where it's hard to imagine how that moved the needle on their subscription, at least enough to justify the money they spent for it. Like, there's no way they turned a profit on The Irishman. Like, I cannot even imagine a universe where they actually profited on that film. So I think a little bit of, I mean, if you look at these are Oscar plays, these are major film directors. So I do think it's a way of just sort of, I think someone in the higher echelons of Netflix does care about, like, their reputation.
Yeah, thank goodness for them.
That's why they have Bird Box.
That's why they have a Bird Box, exactly.
Right.
Yes.
This is one, my number one falls somewhere, I would say, in the middle. This is a very raw pick.
I want to give a guess.
Yeah, in the middle of Bird Box and Other Side of the Wind, you mean?
Yeah, right down the
big
center.
Middle.
I don't know why Carrie didn't have this. I think it's one that you probably forgot about.
Give me some clues.
Well, Tim had mentioned Jeremy Saulnier and Hold the Dark kind of being a misfire. I ended up going with Jeremy Saulnier's Often.
I don't feel at home in this world
That's
anymore.
right. Yeah, a companion
Is your number
directed
one?
by Macon Blair. It's still my favorite. Like, it ended up in, I think, in my top 5 of the year for that particular year.
Huh.
It's just such a raw movie. Like, if I pick a movie off this list that I just want to throw on and just enjoy, like the sense of humor that's present here is my kind of dark humor.
Is the dog pooing?
No, she's not. Just getting repositioned. It follows Melanie Linsky, who gives a fantastic performance as a depressed woman who is. She's going through the motions of life, like puts up with a lot, and then she's burgled, and then she's just had enough. She has her falling down-esque type moment, maybe not to that extreme, but she has a new purpose in life. She wants to track down these thieves, and she's joined by just a fun ensemble character with Elijah Wood being that character. I will say the last act kind of
I was going to say, I didn't like the way that it
There's some
wraps
things
up.
with a snake. The snake doesn't look very great. It doesn't wrap up maybe as neatly, but the journey is so fun. Because I think we can all relate to this situation of just being finally having enough. No, Melanie
You're Melanie Linsky.
But with definitely with shades of Elijah Wood.
I was going to say, you got some nunchucks in you.
Did you forget about this or just no interest, Care?
No, I think when I was looking at it again, it's probably in my top 10. But I feel like I didn't like the way that the movie wrapped up either. And then I just, I don't know.
It's not
top
super
10.
cinematic, and it's like it's just it's something it's an independent film, and it's just one that has the right tone that fits my tastes very well. I don't expect it on many people's lists. Yes, I love this movie.
So if you guys had to sit down today, it's Sunday, we're sitting down, you're going to get some popcorn, you're going to go get a comfy blanket and your jams on. What movie do you rewatch right now?
I think I've just said it.
Out of this list,
out of your own list?
Out of my own list, probably Roma. I don't think I could do that one again. I think I gotta go Bird Box. Yeah. I would watch that again. I gotta see if I missed anything, any like Easter eggs or, special effects that I might have missed.
Mm-hmm. So
there's and you'd go for
Don't Feel at Home.
Home.
Absolutely. That's very highly rewatchable for me. Highly rewatchable.
Okay. Well, if you've missed any of these,
I will say if I'm actually going to watch a Netflix film in the next day or two, it would most likely be Enola Holmes for the.
Yeah, let me know what you think about that. I will talk about that on our next episode. I really want to know what you think.
You could do worse. I mean, it's not great, but it's shot well. So let's check in with our audience. Every week we ask you to submit your picks for our top 5 based on those submissions. Here was the audience's top 5. Reads a lot like Tim's list, got to say. At number 5, Mudbound, which...
I like Mudbound.
I thought Mudbound was
solid.
Was very good.
Mudbound would make my top 10.
Yeah.
And on the animation side, Tim, one that I think you were pretty fond of, and that's Klaus.
I mean, Klaus is a very lovely piece of animation, and I admire it very much for that. The script is not there.
Yeah.
So that's why I could not consider it for my top list.
At number 3, mentioned by Tim, The Irishman. Karen and I not fond of that.
Joe Pesci's face was weird, and I didn't like it.
Even the aging aside, gangster movies are just not, mafia movies, just not my bag.
Yeah.
Not my bag.
That surprises me. I actually thought Irishman had a good chance of being on your list.
Oh, okay. No, did not care. Did not care for it. At number 2, Standing Alone, The Other Side of the Wind. I don't understand people.
I don't either.
Don't understand.
I think it's just never mind. I was gonna be rude, and I decided against.
And we don't get a lot of ties at number 1, but Tim will get great joy out of this. Roma and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. The latter being the surprise for me.
I picked that. That was on my list.
We definitely have a very Coen strong readership.
Yeah, I would have guessed Roma because I acknowledge it being the best piece of filmmaking that Netflix has put out there. Our winner this week is Arlo Banta, who said, I tried putting together a list that included only movies that were actually made with Netflix money, but realized it would leave me with about 2 movies. So still excluding The Other Side of the Wind on principle. So that excluded on principle. Arlo went with Klaus, I Lost My Body, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs at number 3, The Irishman at number 2, and Roma at number 1. Great picks.
Good picks.
It also says an extremely dull list because Netflix doesn't distribute many great movies and produces even fewer. Yes. Arlo, shoot us an email at contact@alternateending.com for details on how to claim your free Amazon movie rental. If you want to win a free Amazon movie rental, like Arlo, be on the lookout for our top 5 movie posts on Facebook and Twitter to share your favorite picks. In closing, I want to thank everybody for listening. Head out to our Facebook page and like it. Twitter, where we're tweeting all the time. Alternateending.com. You'll find all our movie reviews, podcasts, and more. YouTube and Facebook. Now we're doing more video stuff like this here discussion is going to be on YouTube. Also our interviews, we have a bunch of them lined up. I don't like to say what they are because some of them fall through at the last minute, so we'll wait till they actually happen.
Should I say it out loud that I'm planning on doing a How Have You Never Seen so that I feel more committed to doing it?
And Carrie's planning a How Have You Never Seen?
I'm going to try. I've never seen the first Freddy Krueger. I haven't seen any of the Freddy Krugers, but I have never seen A Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm going to watch the first one and see how it is.
Excellent.
A lot of people like that. How Have You Never Seen? We're living vicariously through you watching great films and seeing your reaction, positive or negative, to them. So it's fun. It's fun. And then don't forget about Patreon. We will catch you next time.